Welcome back everyone to another video, and in this one I am talking about this particular HBA or host bus adapter. What these are, these look very much like a RAID card, and in some of the cases they are actually RAID cards with a modified firmware, such in this case. But basically it's a very high speed PCIe link to SATA ports or SAS ports in this manner. So it has two SAS ports, but each SAS port can be broken out into different SATA ports, or like four SATA ports per SAS port. So this thing can do two SAS hard drives or four or eight SATA hard drives using adapters like this. So that's a SAS port to a SATA port adapter or cable. Sorry, and so there are that's the couple of SAS ports here. This is the actual RAID chip or the SAS chip. We look at it, and we look at a few other components. And the way I have it here, the reason I have it here is that this one's broken, and this one almost costed me my entire backup storage. So I run a 5 drive zpool, and everything including 5 drives plus 2 cache drives were connected to this, and suddenly my drive started reporting weird behaviors, and I thought my drives have died, which was unusual because the one drive that really started reporting a lot of errors was WD Gold. So that's an enterprise drive, and they are not supposed to die that soon. So I was preparing an RMA, and I removed that drive and booted up, and it should have still worked. It was a RAID 5 or ZFS RAID 2, same thing. And they have redundancy up to 2 drive failure, and only one of the drives had failed, so the pool should be working properly, but it wasn't. It didn't get detected. All the other drives started throwing a lot of errors, and once I replaced this card with regular old school SATA cards, everything worked fine. Even the broken drive was not broken anymore. I ran a bunch of smart tests, some stress tests, and it reported zero read write errors, which was fun, and sad because the drives could have been replaced. Now this, and the reason it died is because it was a refurbished part. Usually these are data center parts, and when they get really old and end of life, they are usually removed from the data centers and replaced with something fancy. Usually they are in the working condition. Apparently this one might have had some trouble, so you can see all these marks here. I'm not saying that's the reason it failed, because those were there already, but those are just not out of factory things that you see. So they are definitely from refurbishment, and you can see there's a bunch of crud here. So yeah, it had signs of being refurbished, yellowed out labels, but it worked, and I was fine with it, and it ran fine for many months, and yeah, finally gave me almost like a scare of my life, kind of. One of the saddest I've been and confused I've been in a while. And I just thought, I can't do anything with it, so might as well just show you guys what the hardware is. We'll take a look at the SOC later on. Let's talk a bit about the components. These are really meant to stand through hell and be used all the time, so their engineering is pretty liberal when it comes to cost. So you can see complex power management stuff on the card itself. So it just draws 12 volts from the PCIe lane. It has, I think, here's 3.3 volts. You can see the test points there. That's somewhere on there would be 1 volt, because I saw 1 volt test point, and somewhere would be a regulator that provides both of them, so that these two regulators don't have to go through stepping down 12 volts. So probably it's doing like 5 or somewhere there in between. It has an LED for each of the drive that you can connect to it, each of the SATA drive. Some activity LEDs there, and I think these are like points for LED activity on the board outside. Or at the back is the fun part. Alright, so in the front, this chip is the SRAM for the RAID controller. Now these are in a lot of cases properly like CPUs, and they might even have some of the more expensive ones have something like an ARM core in there. Maybe this doesn't have a full blown ARM core, maybe it's a MIPS core or something like that. I don't know. We'll take a look at what the chip exactly. But usually those things aren't really provided in a data sheet. That's a flash chip for the firmware. So this thing comes with two firmware, and I actually had to change the firmware. The second firmware makes it a transparent HBA card. That's what I was using at. The first firmware mostly acts as a RAID card, which I don't want a hardware RAID card because that can end up really badly. So in a hardware RAID card situation, if I was using this card and it had died like it did, it would have taken away all my data because some of the encryption stuff dies with the card, and with that you can't decrypt the drive and mount it. And a lot of the tables and everything are stored on your RAID card. So again, if your RAID card dies, your drive your tables are gone, your encryption stuff is gone, and you're just out of data at that point. Here's a little Altera CPLD. It's either some level shifting stuff, or CPLDs don't really require a separate flash. So I'm guessing this is either level shifting or logic, and that's crystal oscillator for the entire board. That's what clocks the main CPU. Sorry, RAID chip. I'm not sure if it's a full-blown CPU. So let's try and take out the heatsink and see what's underneath. So let's try and pinch it out and see if pinching works. Alright, so I had to take it aside and pry on it, but yeah, that's off, and we can take out our heatsink. I don't know how it comes out. I hope it's not like welded to the sock for security. Yeah, they used to have this sort of a glue that would really secure it to the chip below. And so if you were to remove the heatsink, the entire assembly would just pry off. I am hoping that is not the case, but from the looks of it, it looks like glue. So I'll try to pry it out even more. We'll see where it ends. Well, that is a hard glue. So that layer you see between the actual BGA chip and the heatsink. So if I bring it in focus a bit, so yeah, you have your chip there, you have your ball grid there, you have the chip on top, and then there's this little thick-ish, like a millimeter thick yellow substrate. That's hard glue. So maybe the chip just overheated because that glue completely dried off. So it's still sticking the heatsink, but because it has dried off, it's not sort of filling properly in between, and it now just acts as a barrier. Maybe that's why it died. Who knows? And then that's where your heatsink sits. So sadly, it's sealed. And on that terrible disappointment, thank you for watching. I don't know what to do now. I was so happy to, hey, we'll take the heatsink out, show off the chip, but it just doesn't work. And yeah, it also made my week really bad. So I hope this thing burns in hell, but it's already dead, so I can't do much with it. Also, I can't even reuse the heatsink now. I can't salvage anything from this. Oh well. I hope to see you all later in the video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.